This Barricade roof rack basket is for those of you that have a 2007 to 2018 JK that has a roof rack installed on it and are looking for a way to be able to carry some smaller cargo a little bit more securely. Even the best roof racks usually have a good bit of space between the main crossbars, so if you're looking to be able to carry some smaller items, a basket is a great idea, especially one like this that not only has its own crossbars closer together, but also slats that run perpendicular to those, so the space that something could fall through is very small. You can carry some really small cargo. A basket's also going to add some size onto your roof rack, which is going to make it that much easier to contain smaller items. You can throw a stretchy cargo net, bungee cords, ratchet straps, whatever you want over top of your gear and keep everything a little bit more secure. This basket is a very simple 1 out of 3 wrench installation. It's really a 2-part installation. 1 is assembly of the basket, 2 is installation onto your roof rack, but we're going to show you exactly how to do both parts of the installation in just a second here. As I said before, there are going to be a bunch of different types of basket out there on the market. They're going to be different styles, different materials, maybe offer some different features. If you have one of the more name brand, higher end, more premium roof racks, they usually have a basket that's designed specifically for those. This is designed specifically for the Barricade roof rack, but as you can see, you can mount it on a lot of different racks. This is not a Barricade brand rack, but the basket mounts up just fine and still performs very, very well. From a construction standpoint, what I like about this basket is that it's aluminum, and that means it's going to be lighter weight. So when you have a bunch of stuff up on top of your Jeep, if you're somebody who's taking your Jeep off-road, you're getting into off-camber situations, you don't really want that high center of gravity. So keeping the weight as low as possible is a big benefit, and this aluminum is going to do just that. The fact that it's aluminum also means that if you were to scratch some of the black powder coat finish off of it, you may get a little bit of oxidation, but you're not going to get any serious rust like you would with a mild steel rack, so that's another big benefit to you. This basket can hold up to 300 pounds, which is right around the capacity of a lot of the roof racks out there, so that's going to match up pretty well for you. And it's a total of 50 inches by 70 inches, so you have a good bit of space up there inside the basket to carry that smaller gear. This basket in particular is going to be a little bit pricier than some of the steel ones out there just because aluminum is a little bit more of an expensive material, but I still think it's very fairly priced for what you're getting here. For around 250 bucks, you can pick up this basket, attach it to pretty much any roof rack you have, and add a lot of usability to your rack, again, especially if you're carrying some smaller cargo. So now that I told you all about the basket, let's show you how to get it installed. So this is going to be a very easy installation. It's actually a 2-part installation. There's the assembly of the basket and then getting it installed on whichever roof rack you're running on your Jeep. So we're going to go ahead and start with step 1, which is the install. As you can see, we have the parts laid out more or less where they're going to go when the rack is finished, but the screws for those side pieces, they do go in the bottom. So we're really going to end up installing the rack upside down pretty much. So with everything laid out, we know where all of the hardware is, we know where everything is going to go. We'll go ahead and get started with the installation, which is really going to be flipping these end pieces upside down and getting that one side piece installed. Then we'll install the other slats. Now that we have the 2 end pieces on one of the side pieces, I am going to go ahead and put the screws in there. That way nothing falls apart while we're putting these slats in place and then the other side. So these are going to be the small screws that have the Allen head on it, and these ones are going to be the ones that you install the washers on. The other screws are going to be for the slats that go in the floor area, and they do not get any washers. Now that we have these screwed together so they're not going to come apart while we're doing the rest of the assembly, we'll insert the crossbars into the holes here. Now ultimately these nut certs need to be facing down so that when we flip the basket over, they're facing up. This is what the floor slats are going to be screwed into. So right now, again, we're going to want to put those down. So flip them so that they're in the down position, and then slide the crossbars into place. Now I'll put the second side piece in. We'll start by inserting it into the end here and then go one slat at a time as we work our way from one side to the other. You'll see what I mean here in just a second. I'll get that started. There's that slat in there. The first one might be a little bit tight. The rest of them should go pretty easily. And once you get to the other end, just slide the side into the rounded end piece, just like we did on the other side. Now we can go ahead and attach the side pieces to the end pieces with the 4 screws and washers like we did on the other side. Flip everything over and install the floor slats. Now that the main structure of the basket is put together, we'll flip it over and install the floor slats. The last step to complete before putting the basket on your roof rack of choice is installing the floor slats. So you'll see on one side of the slat it has a pre-applied piece of foam, and that's to keep everything nice and quiet and chatter free. So that's going to go down between the floor slat and the crossbars, just so there's no metal on metal. And you can see that these already have pre-drilled holes in them so that everything will line up nicely with the crossbars here. So you really just have to punch through that piece of foam. You can just do that with the screws that are included. If you wanted to take the time to go through with a razor knife and cut them a little cleaner, you could do that too. But we're really just going to push the screws right through the foam and right into the crossbars. Now that the basket is fully installed, really the last step is getting it attached onto your particular roof rack, and this is where the installation is going to vary a little bit depending on which rack you're using. If you're using the Barricade roof rack, this is going to line up perfectly, and you can really center it left to right and put it in one of a couple of spots front to back, but all of your crossbars are going to line up really nicely. If you're using a different brand rack, you may not have quite as many choices with where you mount the basket front to back on the vehicle, because a couple of the crossbars do have to line up from the basket to the roof rack in order to get all of your mounting hardware attached. So we're using a different brand roof rack, so we're going to have to kind of just see how this fits, but it is going to line up. It might just be a little bit more forward than we wanted, but either way, we're going to get it thrown up on the Jeep, get it lined up, and then go ahead and attach the hardware. So when you do get your basket up on the roof rack, what you're going to be looking for is 2 sets of the crossbars on the basket to line up with crossbars on your rack. and that's because of the hardware that's included to get the basket attached onto the rack. So for us, that meant we had to push the basket a little bit further forward on the rack than we would have originally liked to, but that's just kind of how it worked out. Again, if you do decide to run this basket with a Barricade roof rack, everything's going to line up, everything's from the same manufacturer, and you're not gonna have to worry about kind of playing with it to get things to line up. But we have this bar here lined up with a bar on our roof rack and also that front bar, so we'll go ahead and attach the hardware. So this is a very simple process. You take the metal U-bolt, you're gonna put that down underneath the roof rack crossbar. Then on top of the roof rack crossbar, but underneath of your basket crossbar goes this plastic piece. So that's gonna create a little bit of separation between your basket and your roof rack. So I'm gonna go ahead and slide that in between there now. And then the U-bolt is gonna come up through the two holes in the plastic. And then on top of that goes this bracket here. This is bent and designed to fit exactly around the crossbar of your basket, so that'll sit down nicely on top of there. And then finally, I have a couple of these plastic wing nuts, and that's what's gonna cinch everything down together. So we'll go ahead and put those on. So the nice thing about these being these large plastic thumb screws is that it doesn't require any tools to remove and reinstall the basket from the roof rack. So if you're gonna pull the basket off to carry something larger, like some lumber or a kayak, you can pop it off very easily without needing to reach for your toolbox. So once we have that snugged down, we can go ahead and attach the other 3 brackets to make sure that the basket is firmly tied down to the rack. So if you are looking to add a little bit of additional functionality to your roof rack, I would recommend taking a look at this roof rack basket from Barricade, and you can find it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.